We're looking for organic solutions which are not only environmentally friendly, but also do the job for various practical executions in the garden. You really couldn't do any better than thinking of decorative bark. So let's take a closer look. First of all, what is it? It's the bark of pine trees. Now, we know that pine trees are the basis of most of the potting soils that we actually get and compost at our local builders. And the bark, instead of being tossed away, is actually being used to create this beautiful material that we can use for various applications in the garden. The question I'm always asked is, well, how long does it last? If it's used correctly, it can last for up to 5 to 7 years in the garden, which is quite a bonus. Why would we use it, and how's that going to benefit us in our gardens? You know, when you've got a smaller container and you're putting it into what we call a pot cover, and sometimes it just sticks out. Using the bark nuggets to cover that up really does work a charm. But what more are the benefits in terms of gardening? Well, being an organic product, the most important aspect why we would use this in our gardens is because of mulching, which is basically putting an organic material across the surface of soil. Never ever in your garden should you have bare soil. We all know what happens with bare soil, certainly when we get high winds and when we get heavy rains, because there's nothing holding it, there's nothing to protect it. That soil gets washed away and we end up with loads of damage. So, first aspect of why we mulch, exactly that. The second one is probably the one that benefits us as gardeners the most, which is when you're putting a layer of mulch across bare soil. Yes, there's no light getting in there. Without light, any of the latent weed seeds that are there have no light, so therefore they cannot germinate, which means as gardeners, we have to weed less. The third reason is, of course, when you're mulching and you're laying this decorative bark across the surface of the soil, well, the moisture is going to get trapped there. Even on very, very hot days, if you have to go and scratch around where you've actually used bark nuggets, you will notice that the soil underneath there is still moist. Less water builds. So when your bark has been around your garden, in your garden beds, obviously bark, when it breaks down, ends up adding organic material, and over time it will eventually become soil particles because it's broken up so fine. Well, a couple of things are going on. Most importantly, we are adding organic content into the soil. Organic content encourages good microbial activity. Those are the good bugs, which we all need in the garden. It also improves aeration, which is so important, and especially if you've got a high clay soil. The converse, if you've got sandy soils, well, adding this beautiful organic content into the garden really does work as well, because then it is able to absorb the moisture, gives your sandy soil more binding capacity. And probably one of the most practical uses for these bark nuggets is for children's play areas. Nothing worse than a little guy running along and falling on gravel. No, you'll have far less scratches, far less tears if you're going to use some of the bark. The bark has been graded into various sizes, obviously for different applications. Very fine, we've got a medium, and then we've got the beautiful chunky bark. So if you're thinking of a pathway, folks, we are very, very quick to pave areas, and I mean solid paving with grouting in between. And I really would encourage you rather to work with porous materials, because in that way you don't have so much runoff, which is why bark works as a very good alternative. For areas which are going to have traffic, so you're going to need to walk on it, the finer bark is much better. Obviously it's more comfortable. It's soft, it's gentle. For the larger bark nuggets, which are these guys, this is more for mass landscaping. So here I encourage you, over large, newly established beds, use these. Remember, it's about scale and proportion. So the larger the bed, you then want to go with a larger size nugget. When using decorative bark on pathways and in large areas, folks, to make it last longer, I would recommend very strongly that you use some of this. It's called landscaping fabric. Guys, this is actually created from recycling the lids of plastic bottles, and you can get it in 1 meter wide, 10 meter length, and all you would do is you would unfold this, place it down first over your pathway, cut it to shape, and then you would place your bark nuggets directly on top of this. What this does, it stops the nuggets from getting squashed into the soil. It makes it last a whole lot longer. An organic, practical solution for many spaces within your garden, whether it's hiding the mechanism of a pot plant or using it in a large scale. It is conscious gardening to the next level. Remember, bark nuggets, decorative bark, is available at your local builders, either in-store or online. Remember to visit the blog to check out more great ideas, practical DIY tips, and videos to teach you to become a green-fingered guru. Get to builders and get it done.